Come on, tweet. I know you want to come out.
It's National Coming Out Day for tweets.
Apparently it's not. Chat's happy. Get on the air. You have 87 gambling addicts waiting.
Only 87?
Let's do this. Here we are, Saturday, October 20th, 10-game slate. And there's been a lot of interesting news today coming out throughout the day, dropping off some players and bringing in some value. Eddie, what do you think of this slate?
I love it. I think it's juicy and delicious. I can't wait to sink my teeth into it more.
I feel the same way. I wasn't super interested when I woke up this morning. And then as like Kawhi started dropping and other people started dropping, I was like, okay, this is going to open up a little bit.
Butler and Leonard. Yeah. It's Wings Day off.
It is Wings Day off. So we're going to go game by game, taking a look at everything that we like. And we're going to start it off, I assume, at the 7 o'clock hour. So let's go Pacers and Nets.
I'm in.
Alrighty. Any hot takes here? There are... I like Oladipo probably more than I should.
No. That's if I had a hot take, it would be like, I think Oladipo goes, like, I think it's being overthought a little bit. It's worth taking a step back from the slate and saying there are a jugabillion good plays. Like, there's just, holy shit, 74 guys in every position in a great spot that I really like. That being said, this is Oladipo at what's going to be reduced ownership because he's been disappointing against the Nets. Like, there's some externalities here and other things to add into that equation, but, you know, sub 8K, sub 12% owned Victor Oladipo against the Nets is pretty compelling just to start with. So that was my first hot take, and I have to like Kyle O'Quinn a little bit. I understand the fear and the concern, and there's still a certain Nemanja Bjelica or Garrett Temple or uncertainty with not really sure what the fuck the coach is going to do here early in the year. So, you know, there was one game in the preseason where the day before he was like, yeah, we're going to give him some time as the backup center. He's going to be the first big off the bench. He's going to do this, that, and the other thing. And then they just didn't play him. So, yeah, that's concerning. But now you have no Sabonis and no TJ Leaf. Right. You would have to try really hard not to play him. Like, you can do it. You can slide Bojan down to the 4, and you can run Thad 39 minutes. And so he is maybe, I will start with, and this is probably not comprehensive, and I will post these group of notes in the chat, but I was just tinkering with DK for a while and writing down values at $4,500 and under who I would have in a player pool if I was bowling today. You ready for this? Because this is going to take about 60 seconds.
I'm ready.
Derrick Rose, Kyle O'Quinn, TJ Warren, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, Norman Powell, CJ Miles, Cameron Payne, Ryan Arcidiacono, I think I got it right that time, Antonio Blakeney, Danny Green, PJ Tucker, Roddy Magruder, Derek Jones Jr., Justin Holiday, Jonathan Isaac, Terrace Ross, Wendell Bud Carter, Cody Zeller, Tyus Jones, Taj Gibson, Bryn Forbes, Zach Collins, Stauskas, Evan Turner, PJ Tucker, James Ennis, the third Landry Shamet, Amir Johnson, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, and against my better judgment, Dorian Finney-Smith. Like, that is a metric pile of dudes who are perfectly reasonable to throw in a lineup, but this means a couple of things. One, all of their ownership should be reduced a little bit just because there's so many. And I will just copy paste that in the chat. And I imagine I'm missing some number, but people always say, start with your top value play. So just as I was futzing around today, I kept writing down, oh, there's another value play. I better write that down. Oh, there's another value play. And I have a feeling that's about 30 dudes. I have a feeling I'm missing another 4 or 5 who would be reasonable. And some of them are very, very on the line of guys I want to play. Like, to give some context, Norman Powell or CJ Miles, I'd have to really want it. Cameron Payne, I'm on record. I imagine this game goes much like the last one, but the ownership will be 1/3 of what the last one was. So that's a far different scenario where I would have some interest. Like, before, if you'd have told me a couple days ago it was going to be 12%, I'd have been like, oh, I have some interest at 12%. The guy costs $3,600, now $3,900. Sure, I can see doing that. He was going to be 40, 50, 60%. Fuck no, I had absolutely no interest and because there was a very obvious way a floor could happen, and the floor could happen. That being said, a ceiling could happen too. So Arcidiacono, again, that's pretty deep down the well for me. Fine. Jonathan Isaac, I'd have to be a number of lineups in. Terrence Ross, I'd have to be a number of lineups in. Tyus Jones, I'd have to be a number of lineups in. Bryn Forbes, I'd have to be a number of lineups in. Landry Shamet or Amir Johnson, I'd have to be a number of lineups in and be building around, especially with Shamet. That game turns into a blowout, which seems incredibly likely. And Dorian Finney-Smith, I'd have to be fucking on smack or half a bottle of vodka, but I know other people like him, and you can't objectively completely dismiss him in a pretty exceptional lineup. I would have none ever, but I'm just putting it there because it makes sense. Archie Diacono. Thank you. Weisenberg wrote down the pronunciation guide for me.
I'm with you on your original thought for Kyle O'Quinn. He has to play and like a decent amount of minutes, and he is hyper efficient when he does.
Of all those guys I listed, he's the second cheapest. Like Landry Shamet is $3K on the nose, and maybe there was another $3K in there, but he's $3,300. So there's like that list went up to $4,500. So he's objectively significantly cheaper than a lot of those guys, and he might have the most obvious upside. Like literally, you were talking about. You get some foul trouble on Miles Turner, and you get 26 minutes of Kyle O'Quinn. I think more than that is almost impossible. Like
Agreed.
They will do almost anything else, but you can get 50 out of Kyle O'Quinn in this matchup in 26 minutes. So
flat minimum salary on FanDuel too. Can't beat it.
Yeah,
especially on a day or like with this system now where you drop your lowest score. There's basically no way Kyle O'Quinn hurts you today.
Well. All right, now let's slow our roll a little bit. First of all, he hurts you most in opportunity cost. You're only going to get to play 2 value plays, and of the 31 players I just listed off the top of my head, 9 of them are going to be over 25 fantasy points. So if Kyle O'Quinn gives you 17, there's an opportunity cost there. And if you play him on FanDuel, you're not playing some amazing fucking centers. Like you're not playing Embiid and Drummond and Towns and Jokic and Whiteside and Kanter. Jared Allen, and I have a feeling I have Miles Turner. So like one of those guys could put up 78, and 3 of them could put up 55, and getting your 21 out of KOQ might feel pretty bad still. So he can hurt you, but it seems unlikely he's going to completely, totally shit the bed. And again, the ceiling is pretty massive. So as much as it feels dirty, and the last time I said this, it hurt me deep inside. I like the cock tonight.
I'm on the same page. Anybody else in this game?
I thought it might be. It was the backwards cap I always suggested. Sorry.
Only other guy that I have any real interest in this game, and ignoring Oladipo, who's just kind of in play in general always, Jared Dudley, because he's getting the minutes and he's cheap.
You may have noticed on my list of 31 guys, the name Jared Dudley did not appear. I can't do it. I hear what you're saying, but I just don't think there's much. I mean, he maybe compares better than those 2 guys. Like in 2 games so far this year, he's played 27 minutes and had 20 fantasy points. Strong. And he's played 35 minutes and had 18 fantasy points. I just don't know how I would be many. I don't think I would play any in 150 lineups. Like, what are the odds that he is the value play that we're really needing tonight? Like, I don't know. I would have none. I completely get the theory. Lots of minutes is lots of minutes. I cannot argue lots of minutes, but he's in the Dorian Finney-Smith class of he is a 0.6 fantasy point per minute, dude. I'm gonna try to look elsewhere.
Yeah. The only reason that I would have any interest was just because of the way small forward looks on FanDuel. If he were a power forward in classification, it would probably change the way that I feel about him.
100 again. I'm president of the James Ennis fan club on FanDuel at 3,500. That's clearly the best for me. And there's one other 3,500 I really liked. I will take a look and lay that out now. But there was one other that I thought was OG Anunoby is 37. Maybe there was another one, but like he's even $100 cheaper than Dudley, and I think I would rather go there. But Derek Jones Jr. is still 3,500. So like he's my at most 4th favorite value play, and I might even like CJ Miles without Kawhi Leonard before I went there. So for me, it'd be like I think number 5 or number 6 on FanDuel. So I hear where you're coming from, but.
Speaking of CJ Miles, we'll take a look at Wizards and Raptors.
Nice.
And I like a lot of this game.
I will say, I don't want to skip anyone. Karis LeVert on DK still where he's 6,500 is still very, very solid. You can play LeVert in cash, and I don't think would necessarily be objectively wrong. It's not a day I really wanted D'Angelo Russell. I do think he's going to diamond in the rough someday soon. But the low 6K price tag for point guard is exceptional. You have, I'm forgetting some, but you have Reggie Jackson and you have Jeff Teague in that range. And there's like two others who I think are really exceptional in tournaments that are around that price. Dennis Smith Jr. and Goran Dragic. And so, like, it's really hard to go there today on D'Angelo Russell against a team that has a couple pretty good defensive guards out there. But not like I wouldn't look at him in a lineup and say, like, that's outright wrong. But I guess maybe after that I can be – well, I think we should give a longer chat on Miles Turner himself. Like, conceivably, he should demolish. Now, he's going to be fairly popular given all this news. But he's done a 5,700 on DK. And clearly what they want is for him to really play appreciable minutes. Normally, they don't give a fuck. They're perfectly happy. Nate's perfectly happy to yank him out of there after 20 minutes because Sabonis is the tits. And they're just like, oh, that's, you know, he's young. We're still trying to develop him. He can shoot threes. He's an all-around player. We're hoping he grows into our, you know, Karl Anthony Towns. But, you know, when it goes badly, they're like, oh, screw you. Get the hell out of there. Now, they really would like him to play 36 minutes tonight. And that's not impossible. Like, if you ask Nate McMillan how many minutes he would like him to play tonight, he'd say like 36. So I think it's worth mentioning that Miles Turner and even Thad Young are guys I would have a lot of interest in against the Nets here. So, okay, ready to move on.
I can't ever trust Miles Turner to do something good.
Oh, I can't trust him, but he's got, I mean, you've got Nets and your backup missing, and he costs 63 and 57, I think. If you're going to play him, this is as good of a spot as you might get for him in the entire year. So I can't completely set it aside.
Okay. Tons of value in this Toronto-Washington game. Yeah. Now that Kawhi is done for the day, not permanently. Don't get scared, people.
He's a fun guy.
I'll take my chances on some Norman Powell on FanDuel and some CJ Miles. I think Ibaka's sneaky at 5,700.
I don't know how sneaky he's going to be. I think he's legit good. He's been good against the Celtics historically. Excuse me, not against the Celtics. He's been good against the Wizards historically in the past. He's been good thus far this year. You know, you're taking Kawhi out of there, which is 25 shots we're now distributing to the rest of the team. So I think, yeah, on the starters and the bench on both these teams, there's a dozen guys I have some interest in at their various prices on various sites. Lowry is going to be pretty chalky. The matchup with John Wall is about average for him. Wall has done a pretty good job of defending him. Again, these guys just did 6 games in the postseason last year, so got to see a lot of those guys on the court at the same time against each other. But, you know, Danny Green isn't a guy we normally like to take a lot of shots of, but here could certainly be an example where you'd project his shot total to go from 6 to 8.5, something like that. Pascal is, again, you have Lowry out there, and then a lot of guys who are, I think they probably end up starting. I looked at this for a while. I think you get Lowry, Green, Anunoby, Pascal, and I think they said Jonas is starting.
They did.
Right. So that does not take me off. That does not take me off Ibaka at all. He's still going to get appreciable time and extra usage. Jonas now obviously gets a lot more interesting. Mahinmi now gets a lot more interesting because if they run out there and play, you know, Markieff at center and Jason Smith at center, J-Val is going to go beast. But certainly Jonas Valanciunas now is someone, especially on a giant night with a thick center rotation, we should have some interest in the 5s. So, yeah, Jonas is someone I would definitely pick up some pieces of.
Guy I like the most in this entire game, though, John Wall.
Sure. 85 or whatever he still costs.
Yeah, 8,500 on DK. To me, that's just a little too cheap.
I think it's 10K on FanDuel, which I'm totally fine paying, but 8,500 on DK is just too cheap. Yep. The problem is half of DK is too cheap. He's too cheap. The guy playing next to him is too cheap at 66.
Yeah, that one's even more ridiculous.
Like, that's even more stupid. Kyrie at 73 in the Garden, that's way the hell too cheap. Lowry is too cheap objectively looking at his position, like 19 other guys. So whereas I completely agree, Lillard is 86 when we're talking about point guards. Sorry, Lillard is 82 versus like Wall's 85. So like,
I don't know what they're doing with pricing right now.
It's interesting. It's they're, you know, they decapped and they recapped. I really feel like they've adjusted the algorithm twice in the last week. First, when they took off that really weird hard cap where you had $8,500 Anthony Davis for a couple days. Don't know what was up with that in the preseason. And then now they seem to be futzing with it a little bit again. But I agree. Wall, especially at 8,500, is a stellar play, and he is confirmed in and will suit up.
It's just I'm ready to watch that game. Like more than anything else, Wizards Raptors is fun. I just hate that there's no Kawhi.
Aaron Baines will start.
News?
Yeah, 14 minutes ago, so we're not right out of the gate there. Oh, Anunoby will start also, so I got that one right.
Yeah.
So.
Aaron Baines, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he's again not high. Like he's. I would play him in cash over Kyle O'Quinn. That's the easiest thing I can say. Now he's starting in that matchup. I'm much more confident in his ability to get me 18. So in cash, I might play Aaron Baines over Kyle O'Quinn at the same price.
I don't know. I think I might prefer O'Quinn there.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly just try to, bust it open based on your opportunity there. There's certainly a chance to win your night.
More than anything, it's just because of my lack of trust of Miles Turner. He's like, yeah, I don't think I ever get him right, so...
Yeah, I mean, I think Valanciunas becomes an excellent pivot off Miles Turner.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? They're almost the same price. Val is like 55, 59. I think Turner is 57, 63. But at those numbers, I think you get a remarkably better ownership on Valanciunas and can certainly go smash. So in tournaments, I like that move.
So you were talking about Baines. Anybody else on the Celtics that you'd be interested in? Tatum, really the only guy that's standing out for me.
Yeah, Tatum, again, you're a FanDuel player, so he should stand out to you. Yeah. Tatum's numbers there on FanDuel are pretty exceptional. Again, the Celtics, just a team, they have oddly priced down on that site where they've been pricing everyone up quite a bit. But $6,600 Tatum, with Hayward out, especially, even adds. And then adding Baines. Baines isn't a guy who's taking his shots. So now Hayward was taking, a shot every 90 seconds or so. A lot of those are going to flow to Tatum. And Kyrie, by the way, who I still like quite a bit. And even at FanDuel, 7,800, that's not out of play.
No.
Jaylen Brown is at a price where you can throw him out there on FanDuel. So for the Celtics, I think that's fairly intuitive what to go with there. I want to say for the Knicks, don't sleep on Enes Kanter. Enes Kanter has been just fine. Historically in the spot, again, we're bouncing, Celtics to Raptors to Knicks. We're sort of jumping back and forth between those two games. But Enes Kanter has done quite well in the spot previously, and he's still 6,900 on DK. He's going to be, and he's really, really produced preseason and regular season. I don't know who noticed this. So when we look over at the Knicks, Enes Kanter at 6,900, Kevin Knox is all the way down at 4,200, and there's a real chance he plays a little extra time because this game is quite possibly going to end up being a blowout. I don't think it's a spot where I want to take Tim Hardaway. This isn't a team where you're wing scoring dependent. You're necessarily going to get there. But I have probably a little more interest in the Knicks than other people do. There's going to be a great Trey Burke day coming up. This probably isn't it. There's going to be some good Tim Hardaway days. This probably isn't it. And again, his price is a little higher. You want 6K Tim Hardaway, 7K Tim Hardaway. You need one of those weird 3 steal, 3 block games, and those are uncommon for him. But Kanter and Knox, I would be over the field on.
I don't have much of a problem with Kanter. Crazy echo. I think we're good.
Okay.
I was louder than I've ever heard myself before.
Listening to all my beeps.
Yeah. Kanter is a guy that I always generally trust, and I don't know why, but he's just. Who's starting?
Powell. Norm.
Good.
Lowry, Green, Powell. Anunoby, Valanciunas, Pascal to the bench.
I'm okay with that.
I'm fine with that.
I like Powell.
Yeah, I'll run out some Powell in my life at this point. Yeah, I think. By the way, same price as Anunoby, or same price as O'Quinn, actually, 200 cheaper than Anunoby on DK.
I would prefer to have a Powell lineup. I think.
Sure.
Just easier that way.
Yeah, but real fan, I want to reiterate again, I'm a pretty big fan of Valanciunas at this point. There's, and by extension, that's likely you see more Mahinmi, little less Markieff, things like that, little less Jason Smith. It's interesting how it affects Jeff Green, if you want to go back to that. Did I have Jeff Green on my value list? I may not have, by the way. Jeff Green, the guy who could go on the value list.
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Alrighty. I think we sort of touched on anybody we would want in Boston and New York.
Yeah, we sort of translated there from Toronto and Washington.
Sixers and Magic.
Yeah.
A thrilling game.
This should
In
be a
Philly,
beat.
13-point line. Ugh.
Yeah, this should be an absolute beatdown.
I have no interest in anybody on Orlando.
Terrence Ross is $3,600 on DK.
That's more appealing than the $4,500 price point he has on FanDuel.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really willing to move on. Like, I don't, we only have so much time. John Isaac is $4,200. He just hasn't been getting enough minutes coming back from injury. So, yeah, very slight interest in those guys. Vooch has not had the big anti-Embiid game that a number of other centers have had. He's generally gotten his shit pushed in. And with possibly starters like me. I mean, they just lost by 32 to Charlotte. You cannot imagine back-to-back on the road in Philadelphia. This is going to go incredibly well.
Yeah, this is a rough one for Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, Kem Birch is $3,200 on DK, I think. Gonna play a lot when they're down 49. Like, I mean, you'd really, like, those would be the kind of plays I would be looking at. And again, there's enough uncertainty there, and still not a great matchup or pace where I wouldn't rather just take some of the other more chalky value plays we are thusly referring to.
So then do you want to go to anybody from Philly, or do you think that they only play 28 minutes because they're up by 100?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. Like, I like a lot of guys from Philly, actually. So you can like Ben Simmons, certainly on DraftKings. FanDuel 11-1. Okay, I think we can do something else with that money. DK is still 98. If they're going to win by 30, it's going to be sort of on the back of him doing lots of things.
Agreed.
Hashtag analysis. So, like, real chance of hitting triple-double again. 9,800 on DK. I don't have an issue with you playing Ben Simmons in anything. I don't hate Markelle Fultz again. I like Markelle Fultz in any game that I think is going to blow out, because they do this thing where he plays 20 minutes in the first half, and then they give Redick the start in the second half, and he plays like 5 minutes, unless they have a blowout, and then they give him all the time they can. He plays the whole fourth quarter. So you have 32-minute Markelle Fultz upside here for $4,600 on DK.
It's a great price point for Fultz.
Yeah, Covington is still much cheaper on DK. Is 54 there, 67 on FanDuel, I think it is. Saric in the fives. Like, I wouldn't, puke if I saw him in a GPP lineup. I have no reason to be particularly enamored. And Joel Embiid is 10-9 on FanDuel, 10 flat on DK. It's still Joel Embiid, and he can still put up 57. And like, if I had 100 lineups, I'd have some in there. I would rather play in tournaments a lot of other guys like Towns and all the other centers I listed before. But it's certainly not going to be wrong objectively to play Joel Embiid. So I do have some lingering interest in those guys on DK, and even something like Landry Shamet in a lineup you are building on the presumption this game goes absolutely apeshit blowout.
I feel like Philly is the DraftKings version of Boston, just underpriced by a couple $100 across all of the guys that are playable.
I think that was a reasonable take you made there, sir.
Yeah. I'm not really getting to a ton of Philly. I rarely do, and that's bit me twice so far this season, but I'm confident here.
Philly.
I don't think that Orlando is going to get the same 41-point first quarter that Chicago got a couple nights ago.
I don't know, man. We'll see. They have the tools to satisfy. Like, they can get there.
Where are those tools at? Is Shaq and Penny coming back?
Yes, that's wrong. That's nice. They use the puppets. All right, let's go to 8 o'clock.
Bulls and Pistons.
All right.
A not great game. The Bulls are...
I absolutely love this game. It's my favorite game of the night.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this game.
Okay, well then there are two guys that I hope you like. We'll start on the Chicago side because that's the team that's at the top of my list right now.
I'm listening.
Lots of value at guard. Whether or not that's good value could be up in the air. But Cam Payne, Arcidiacono, Levine, Holiday, Blakeney, all of these guys are going to play solid 20-plus minute outings. Blakeney, 3,600 on FanDuel. Arcidiacono, 3,600. Payne, 3,900. I don't know who to pick out of this entire group of point guards and shooting guards for Chicago.
Yeah, it's tricky now because Payne's ownership is going to be 10% instead of 40 or whatever. That really changes the calculus. But I don't think you need any of them. If I was building 150 lineups, I would probably have something like 8 Payne, 12 Blakeney, and 4 Arcidiacono. Something like that. Like, most lineups, I just wouldn't bother with any of those 3 dudes. But they're reasonable enough guys. One of them is going to hit some sort of reasonable upside, I think, and that's about how I'd split up my level of interest in playing them at this point.
I think those are reasonable numbers.
Sorry?
I think those are reasonable numbers.
Yeah, like that's I think about where I would come out if I was building 150 for this lineup. There's no one there I think like, oh, you definitely want this, and I'm a little more excited about the Detroit guys than, well, I don't know, I'm pretty excited about some of the other Chicago guys too. Yeah, like I'm not in love with Wendell Carter. The matchup is obviously nightmarish. Portis is still just objectively too cheap for what he can do. You can put Portis in anything, and I'm not going to object. He's going to play 30 minutes at least, maybe 33, 34, if God forbid the game stays close. Like, I think it's worth pointing out here, this game, like, people are much more gaga over the Phoenix and Denver game, okay? And I understand why. It has an over-under, like, 2 points higher than this one, and this game has a 3 or 4 point spread. That one has a 12-point spread. And a lot of the guys in this game are priced a lot more excitingly, and I think we know where the production is coming from. So, like, you know, the Bulls are going to start shitty guards. You don't got to play him, but Justin Holiday, who's still 43 or 4,400, and I don't despise. Zach LaVine, who is 6,900 on both sites, which is nice. And I think this game will go largely the same way as the last one, where he's just going to get room to operate and do his thing. And Portis and Carter. And then on DraftKings, Jabari Parker's only $5,000 off the bench. I still have some tournament interest there. So I like in some aspect almost everyone who is going to play on the Bulls. And I like them a little more than, say, everyone who's going to play on the Nuggets. I like the Nuggets, but Phoenix is playing a lot slower than Phoenix used to. So while their offense is, or their defense is still terrible, there aren't quite as many possessions to take advantage there. And you're just spending a little more money on many of the guys. And otherwise, the production is so varied. For, if you look at the 5 starters for Denver, you can spend an arm and a leg for Jokic, which I think is fine. He should demolish. You can play for Millsap, but he ends up being the number 4 or 5 guy on offense on that team sometimes. Sure, he could get 30 points of peripherals. Might not. Will Barton, not cheap. Gary Harris, not cheap enough relative to, Zach LaVine, who's going to take twice as many shots. And then Jamal Murray is an uncertain quantity in like 6K. So just like looking at that game and this game, I like more guys in this game. And we're not even onto the Pistons yet.
That's the spot that I want to be too. I'm irrationally high on Reggie Jackson tonight.
No, you're not. You're good. Thumbs up, soldier. He's 61 on FanDuel, 56 on DK.
Yeah.
He played 35 minutes last game.
Got up 20 shots.
And they're right. And the Bulls are running out guys who are several inches shorter than me and can't defend anyway. And there's all the upside in the world for Reggie Jackson.
I love it.
Absolutely not shocked at all to get 40 out of Reggie Jackson in this spot. I would project him for north of 30, and he costs either 5.6 or 6.1.
He's one of my favorite plays on the entire board, especially if his ownership is staying where we have it projected. I'm pulling that back up now just to see if it's been updated.
You have it at like 8%.
It was lower than that. I'm grabbing the update now. It was lower than that previously, and I don't see why it would have changed all that much.
There's a few spots to take. I should really buy subscriptions to other places and start using it to better gauge my ownership, because I generally try to inhabit the headspace of what other touts are doing, and I think they'll make this mistake, and so I'm pretty sure everyone's going to say play infinite to this guy, and they're going to be wrong. So let's not do that. But I should objectively check at some point. But
Jackson 8% on DK, 4 on FanDuel for us. I love it.
8 on DK. Yep. I hit it right on the nose without looking. That's solid. Yeah, so I like him. I don't hate if you want to play Reggie Bullock tonight. I didn't put him on the list of value, 4,300, 4,400. He can do steals and threes, and this really plays into those strengths. Don't really want to do Stanley Johnson, but Blake could certainly be a monster here, and Andre Drummond almost certainly will be a monster here. He smacked around the Bulls repeatedly last year. That's when they had Robin Lopez out there, who's going to do a damn sight better for them on defense than Bud Carter is going to do most of this game.
What do you think about Blake Griffin? He's a guy that pops up in my projections all the time. And even if I would try to nerf him, still pops up. So I wonder sometimes, what am I missing? Besides the fact that he's Blake Griffin.
You just mean that you're not as excited based on his potential projection and cost?
I just feel like I'm never happy when I have him.
Yeah, I mean, just this price is never as low as you'd like it to be. Like tonight, he's 84 and 86. That's not cheap. Like, that's a grand more than a lot of other guys we really like. So when you compare him to Kyrie Irving, who I think is a safe 30 and has a real shot of hitting 50 in the Garden, Griffin projects pretty similarly to that. And it's just like $1,300 more. I don't know how you justify that. Obviously, a little closer on FanDuel. So it just comes down to me sort of more of this is going to be the ownership. And this is the ceiling. So yeah, raw points, it doesn't necessarily make sense, but I think that has to be factored in as well. That just like there's a real chance you randomly get 50 out of him. But on a bigger slate than this, he's certainly the guy on this team I'm most excited to let go of starting after Stan. Like I like Reggie Bullock a little more than Blake Griffin. I love Reggie Jackson. I really like Andre Drummond. So
who guards Blake Griffin?
Well, nobody. They will start the game putting Portis on him.
Blake should put a beating on Portis.
Yeah, they have no other option because you can't put Portis on Drummond and try to put Bud Carter on Blake. Blake is too maneuverable for him even at this stage in his career. I don't think Wendell can handle him one-on-one. So
I just think Blake. I mean, and what their best shot then is bringing Jabari in to guard him, and that's going to go even worse. I love Blake.
But that's what I'm saying. Is like that's part of your argument for Blake is like, okay, what are they really gonna do to stop him if he wants to get his? You can't get 55 out of Reggie and Blake and Andre, but you can get it out of two of them, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it. I mean, this Bulls team has been that bad defensively, and this should not be a surprise. They stocked up this team with shitty defenders. Then you take Chris Dunn off the court, but Jabari Parker and Zach LaVine, and these are not guys who are competent NBA defenders, and this was a predictable consequence when we started to look at this year. A lot of people are like, you know what, I'm not sure this team could ever guard anyone. It's like, yeah, you're right. They can't.
They cannot. Portis, one of the chalkiest guys of the slate, and he should be.
Yep, he should be.
One of those things. He's way underpriced.
Correct. No disagreement.
No, it's hard to say anything else. He's that guy on the slate today. Do you have anything else from Chicago or the Pistons?
No, just the 11 guys I said I love. That's it.
Alrighty. Heat and Hornets. And Bill Buttlicker in chat just said, Tony Parker starting?
No way. They finally did it. They're putting Lamb on the bench and starting TP. I got to look this up.
Tony Parker will play Saturday. I don't see that he's starting.
They're just saying like he's playing on the back-to-back. That's not exciting.
Yeah.
You got me out of my chair for a second. I was like,
Tony
really?
Parker starting
their best lineup of the year was Walker, Parker, Monk, Batum, MKG was their most sort of fun lineup of the year that they were running out there. So I was like, are they starting that? That's insanity. Who the hell's going to guard Whiteside all game? But no, okay.
Yeah. So never mind. False alarm.
My roll a little bit.
False alarm. Kemba Walker, 8,900 on FanDuel.
Really? I got to go look at our chat and check out Buttlicker.
Yep, Bill Buttlicker. He's a longtime listener of awesemo.com content.
First time Buttlicker. Okay.
He'll appreciate that.
He's playing, not starting. Okay. We all got confused there. All right, let's keep going. We got to go faster. Let's go faster.
How much Miami do you want to smash here?
A fair amount. I mean, Charlotte's really playing the hell up. I'm not going to object to Josh Richardson in anything at any point. Dragic, 67 FanDuel. I'll save 600 and play Reggie Jackson, but 6,000 on DK is getting pretty reasonable. Rodney, Scooter Magruder, there is still the floor on FanDuel. You're not going to get 50 out of him again or whatever the hell happened in that last game. That was literally the best game of his career. But, he's still the fucking minimum, and that's pretty exciting with their drop one punt. It's really hard not to like him. Derek Jones is still the minimum over there too, who I imagine we still expect to get the start. There's still going to be Sans Winslow, Sans Ellington, Sans Johnson. All those guys are out. Sans Johnson, by the way, sounds like an action hero. But like those, Derek Jones, I'm mostly excited about as a FanDuel pump, but he's 36 on DK. I want to say that's a price that's perfectly reasonable. Whiteside, 7,800 on FanDuel. I'd rather Cantle. I'd rather a few other guys. 6,700 on DK. Like, yeah, back-to-back we're not super excited about and got a healthy roll last night, but it's still Hassan Whiteside against Cody Zeller, and he's 6.7, and the coach and him are apparently BFFs again.
I guess. Who knows? I don't know what to make of it.
What's the counter argument? Like, the counter argument is like he's Whiteside and can screw up at any moment, and maybe they get run out of there. Like, maybe Charlotte goes back to Monk and Parker and super small ball, and they're like, okay, have a seat, bam, get out there and do your thing.
I just don't. It's Whiteside, man. He is such a dick sometimes.
You got to get past that. They're past it. Why can't you get past it?
Are they past it?
Eric's past it. Hassan's past it. Yeah, you got 29. You played bad last game. You put up 9 and 10, and you still played 29 minutes. That's exciting for me on a back-to-back. I'm all in. I think I've got like little hearts around the two of them. Like, oh, you're not so bad. Oh, your hair's not falling out. You're my best friend. Like, it's a. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, Charlotte, because we got to be fast, no time to be funny. Kemba's still 76 on DK. Till they give me some idea that he's not going to be death Russell Westbrook usage monster the entire year. 7,600, I'm still in. 89 on FanDuel. You know, at that point, I pay up for 10 for Wall. I think I look other places, but not out of play in a game that should be perfectly reasonable. Has certainly smashed face on Dragic a couple times in the past. I don't want a Jeremy Lamb. Nick Batum, FanDuel 72, no thanks. DK 56. Yes, have some. Don't play Marvin Williams. He was not unintentionally left off the value list. Cody Zeller, I have some interest in. 4,200 on DK. Don't think I'd play him on FanDuel, but DK 4,200. They're going to need some big bodies out there, and Whiteside would eat the living shit out of Hernan Gomez. Sweet Dick Willie, that is. But, you know, Cody Zeller maybe gets back into 27 minutes. He's 4,200. Okay, I can see that being something. Not someone I'm all over, but if I'm building 150, he's in 3 of them or something. Monk, again, FanDuel overreacted a little on the pricing like they did with a lot of guys. DK is 4,700. He could squeak in the pool, but that's my takes on this game.
I'm essentially with you on all of it. Outside of, I don't really have a ton of interest in Whiteside.
That's fair. 6,700 is all I'm saying.
Sure.
That's 700.
His price point on
like, I don't know.
His price point on DraftKings is appealing.
Right. That's just in pricing error. Like, I'm not. He's, you know, if I was building 150 lineups, I would have 25 Valanciunas at this point and 8 Whiteside, but I'd have like 8 Whiteside.
You ready to talk about my favorite player of the day?
Hold on. All right. So it's the 8:30 game, which is Dallas and Minnesota.
Correct.
Right. I'm going to say your favorite player of the day is on Minnesota.
You would be incorrect.
Is it just Donk?
Yeah.
You're just on Badonkadonk?
I want all the Luka.
I can't argue with you. Like, I don't know if he got a double A in my rankings or a BA, but I think he's a stellar tournament play. He came off one bad game. Minnesota couldn't stop anyone with Jimmy Butler out there for 35 minutes. And Jimmy Butler is a tremendously good defender. So now we're going to yank him out of there and throw in some polyglot mixture of Tyus Jones and Josh Okogie and, oh, God. Like, yeah, I think Dallas will be the most under-owned team of the day. I have no objection with any amount of Luka Doncic exposure. Feel free to elaborate, but I am simpatico.
You elaborated enough. I would expose myself to Luka Doncic. That I just want that much exposure. Exposure everywhere.
Yeah, I'd let him see one up close. Yeah. I don't know if I can say anything better. I could throw some numbers at you, and the last game was a really terrible shooting performance, and
he's just not going to stop. Like, him and Dennis Smith are just going to do. Yeah,
he's 62
whatever.
On FanDuel also.
If it starts going, I mean, he's not going to be worried about Wiggins, and then there's nobody else out there. He's certainly not going to be worried about the corpse of Luol Deng or something running out there.
Corpse of Luol Deng. I don't think it's Deng. People have suggested Deng. I think that was a preseason dalliance. I don't think
James Nunley.
I don't think it ends up being Luol Deng we see here, but
it doesn't really matter to me who it is.
No, not me either. Yeah, I'm in. And plus, is shooting guard on FanDuel? Oh, geez, like. It's really hard for me to, like, I toyed around with FanDuel lineups for a half hour, and I'm like, come on, I really should try to play someone other than Josh Hart and Luka Doncic here. But I don't want to. They're both so good. Like, that's basically what it came down to. Like,
I'm so happy. I can't wait to watch the game.
I'm so happy is the best comment. I'm so happy.
I wanted a good game to watch, and if I'm just going to go full on.
Sorry, I'm so happy. It's really funny to me. I'm so happy.
I'm going full on Luka.
His name is Luka. Okay. Let's move on. You and I are getting there's a pile of drool collectively on the floor here, but yeah, I just the ownership is not going to be high enough. You're going to look at him as DK is like 66. I want to say it's a bigger number. And there, I think I'd rather play him in tournaments than Brad Beal, who is stupidly low priced. But yeah, I'll go with matchup and the ability to contribute in every fucking category. So
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't sift through the remains of the T-Wolves right here. Does Wiggins tickle your fancy with Butler out?
Less than others, I will go on the line as saying. Like, yeah, he tickles my fancy. I can certainly see that working out some number of ways. But like, I don't know how to explain this. So he's had a really high usage so far, taken a lot of shots so far, and taking Butler out of the court is obviously going to pretend high for him. He is going to get one of the tougher defensive assignments. He should have Wes Matthews on his hip for a lot of the game. That historically hasn't been great for him. But he's going to take a metric butt ton of shots. But it's just, for me, it comes down to there's a real chance he does not get a combination of 4 steals, assists, rebounds, and blocks. So I'm fading 35 real points from him. Now, there is a real chance that he gets 28 points, 7 rebounds, an assist, and whatever. Like, that can come to pass. So there is an upside. I would never say to anyone, even in cash, playing Wiggins without Butler is a bad idea. But I would much rather play other guys on this team. Like, almost everyone else on this team. I would rather play Teague. I would rather play Rose. I would rather play Cat. I'd have to sit there and think for a minute about Taj Gibson, who's only 4,500 on DK. But I would rather play, in tournaments, Teague, Cat, and Rose over Wiggo.
Yeah, Towns has to do something here. If he comes out and lays some like 8-shot egg again, it's gonna make him look so bad. I mean, maybe he doesn't care because he's gonna laugh all the way to the bank, but
he cares.
This is a shot.
He shares a birthday with me. He and I are simpatico. He is my familiar.
This is his shot. He needs to do it.
Yeah, he's not going to miss his shot, as Lin-Manuel Miranda tells us. What's really interesting is people kept posting the head-to-head logs of DeAndre Jordan and Karl Anthony Towns today. And not one person has yet looked at the DeAndre Jordan side of it. I mean, I'll give you the DeAndre Jordan lines. You can talk about the Towns lines. Here's DeAndre Jordan lines in games started against Karl Anthony Towns over the last, we'll say since the beginning of 2017. Here we go, going backwards in time. 18 and 12 with 3 assists, a steal, and a block. 18 and 21 with 2 assists. 17 and 12 with 2 blocks. That was the worst one, I guess. That's the only one where he doesn't pay off his price today. 20 and 13 with an assist and a block, and 29 and 16 with 2 assists and 2 blocks. Like, he's too fucking expensive. And nobody on the slate with all the centers and with him on his new team, and no one's talking about DeAndre Jordan, and Doncic is there, and who knows how well it goes. But he has not had trouble maneuvering around in the post with Karl Anthony Towns out there, put mildly. So, you know, in my 150, I'd have 6 DeAndre Jordan, and running that out there at 4% would be over the field. Like, just for what it's worth, he is going to be unowned and has absolutely smashed Towns in the past. So you're going to see some Lob City action. I'm going to put the over-under on alley-oops to him at 3.5. Like, there's going to be a lot of that. Towns also very productive, but not quite, like, slightly more productive. But again, the price is obviously infinitely higher. If you're curious, 39, 3 and 2, 21, 12, 4, 2 and 4, 15, 12, 1 and 1. That one's kind of sad. 29 and 14 and 2, 37, 12, 5 and 1. Like, okay, I'm and again, many of those were with Jimmy Butler, and so by all means, play Towns. But I do think the bit of the edge in that game is that don't completely sleep on DeAndre Jordan, who has smacked Karl Anthony Towns around for a few years now. Other than that, in this game, also don't completely sleep on Dennis Smith Jr. I don't like him as much as Doncic, and if I thought that this was a smaller slate, like if there were 4 games on this slate, I think you'd have 35% on Doncic and 11% Dennis Smith, so I'd be a lot more interested in Dennis Smith. But I think you only have like 10% on Doncic. Like, it's going to be really low. You're going to be happy. We're going to look at the ownership for that game, and you're going to sprout a Nick Chubb.
I've had the Doncic Chubb the entire day, so
I'm disturbed to hear that. All right, let's go. We got what, three left? We got 3 left, and it's 46 after.
We got it.
Well, yeah, but we want to be done more than 30 seconds before, so people could conceivably do something with this brilliant analysis.
One of us is talking a lot. Denver and Phoenix. I do love this game, but I agreed with your earlier take. I think it's going to be over-owned, particularly on the Denver side.
Right,
I do love Millsap, though.
Yeah, I'll give you my 30 seconds on everybody. I'd like to see Trey Lyles get more time before I go there, but without that, if I was going to play a bench player on this team, I would think it's a blowout, and I'd probably play Juancho Hernan-Gomez, but I might play Trey Lyles. Those are the only bench guys I'd consider. I'm not thrilled with either. And Juancho, another guy on the value list I didn't add, by the way. The starters are just all, I don't know quite where the production is going to go, and they're not all that cheap. They're all a little better on DK. You got, except for Jamal Murray, he's only $6,000 on FanDuel. But again, I'm now playing him over Reggie Jackson. I'm playing him over Jeff Teague. I didn't mention Jeff Teague, by the way. Jeff Teague plays, real quick, the Jeff Teague take. I guess also all right. So Derrick Rose is still probably going to play high 20s in minutes and take a buttload of shots, and it's like 3,800 on some sites. That's perfectly reasonable play still. Jeff Teague plays more point guard when Jimmy Butler isn't there. When Jimmy Butler is there, Jimmy Butler sort of runs the offense a lot of the time. When Butler's out, Teague historically has been much better, and at like 6,200, he could smash in that spot. So now getting to the Nuggets, yeah, 2 or 3 of them are going to be good. One of them will probably be great. But again, Millsap's 68 or 73. Barton's 67 or 7 flat. Harris is 59 or 62 for a guy who's probably the number 5 on offense. Murray's inconsistent at 63, 6,000. And it's probably like a dozen-point line. I don't recall what it is, but it's really significant. So then you go look at the other team, and we're in Denver. I really like DeAndre Ayton. I have no issue with him in anything. He's been phenomenal. Jokic's defense should not be an issue. Feel free to do that. But you're going into altitude. I don't know what happens with Isaiah Canaan, with now Jamal Crawford there. A lot of people are talking about TJ Warren, who's $2,100 cheaper on DK. I like TJ Warren at $4,500, but going into altitude, all of a sudden now you have Jamal Crawford showing up. I don't know exactly whose minutes he takes, but they already have a really significant futzer of minutes on the bench on that team, where you're trying to figure out what to give to Warren and Jackson and now Jamal Crawford and Bridges, and there's just a billion guys out there. So, Booker, you can play in anything. Someone told me earlier they were worried about Gary Harris' defense. I don't have it up in front of me, but if you looked, he's absolutely put 30-plus real points onto Gary Harris many, many times. My issue is just the price. 87, 83 for Booker. You need a hell of a game to justify that on a slate this deep. There's, Kyrie Irving I keep using as a bench point, but that's, $1,000 cheaper, and I think he'd probably get you 40, safe 30. Could hit 50. I profile that pretty similarly to Devin Booker, and you're spending quite a bit more money there, and I think he's still fairly popular. So I am less over the moon on this game than I am the other one. I'll leave it to questions after that. Oh, also Josh Jackson still 5,300 on DK. That's pretty cheap for a guy who could get the run in the blowout and blah, blah, blah. Like, I think that's tournament interesting, but much less high on this game than the others we've discussed.
Yeah, chat was asking if Jokic was a cash play on FanDuel. I mean, I think Jokic is probably the best center option of the night on FanDuel. I don't think Ayton's ready for someone like Jokic.
In cash, I would probably rather play Drummond. It's $600 more, so that certainly factors into the math there. But at prices there, I would play Drummond first. A lot of the other guys have some uncertainty. I would probably rather play Jonas Valanciunas at 5'9", as well. But he'd probably be like number 3 on my cash list. I wouldn't have an objection to anyone doing it, but I would slightly prefer those other guys.
Depending who I got as the more expensive person from dropping down to Jonas, I would agree with you there, but I would prefer Jokic to Drummond. I just think he eats Ayton up.
Oh, I think he very possibly does, but his game is a little more circumspect, and it's just like, Andre Drummond, can anyone stop him? No, he's going to get 20 and 20. Jokic very possibly gets a triple-double and does all the Jokic-y things, but I don't know. It's just, Jokic seems slightly less solid to me than Andre Drummond, both physically and in the other context as well.
For sure. Portland and San Antonio, I don't get the sense that we're going to have a ton to talk about here. I don't generally like going up against San Antonio, no matter who is on the team. Just never. I don't feel like I ever get a nice
Honestly,
pop.
with these two teams, I'd be more worried about going up against Portland, but that's fine. I don't really want to go up against Portland either. Portland is slow and defensively pretty solid.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have no real exposure to anyone in San Antonio, and the only guy that I find relatively interesting on FanDuel outside of a Zach Collins punt for 4K would be a little bit of CJ McCollum, and he's getting very little love. Are you going anywhere there?
Yeah,
Any Lillard love?
Lillard again is just way too cheap on DK. 8,200 for Damian Lillard is just objectively too cheap. You can stop analysis at that point, I think.
Yeah.
Like, But sorry, checking some news. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so again, looking at this game, Lillard, DK, fine. McCollum, it's a giant slate. I don't think this is a spot you need to McCollum against the Spurs. You want to run back Stauskas or Zach Collins in a tournament, I won't throw up my hands and fight. Yeah, what are you going to do? Guy had a roll. Guy had 27 minutes last game and produced with it, but I don't think I'd want to do it. I don't think it's a spot you need Al-Farouq Aminu, Jusuf Nurkic. Is it worth it? Probably not. Those prices, when he gets 17 minutes in his last start, like I think just yeah, I have very little interest in this game on the Portland side of the ball. On the Spurs side of the ball, I still like at their prices DeMar DeRozan, Rudy Gay, and LaMarcus Aldridge in tournaments, and I don't have a problem with LaMarcus Aldridge in cash anywhere. He's the guy the whole year. People talking about DeRozan, I'm like, Aldridge is going to continue to carry the water for this team. So not a ton to like here. Let's move on to the last game, which hopefully we can get through quick.
And this will be the one everybody wants, Lakers and Rockets, and I love all the studs. I like, LeBron on FanDuel, for me, is a no-brainer, 11-7. Harden, 11-6 on FanDuel. I'm trying to fit both of them in the majority of the things that I'm doing. And this is the clear, in my opinion, best fantasy game. Now, it's also clearly the best fantasy game to the public because there's a lot of ownership here.
Yeah.
How would you parse through it?
So Josh Hart on FanDuel at $4,300 is sort of an auto play for me. He also sort of fills one of your punt spots. That's pretty exciting for me. JaVale McGee still makes plenty of sense in tournaments. Not even the craziest cash idea, but now it's like $1,000 more for Valanciunas. I'm probably just going to go there if I was looking at him in cash if possible. Ingram tournaments, Pope probably avoiding because he's just looked disengaged. Rondo on FanDuel at 4,700 is still just a pricing mistake. I don't think you get 32 minutes again.
Yeah.
But that's just a game moving a million miles an hour, and it's Rondo who can do all sorts of fantasy stuff and obviously can't hurt you too bad. So again, Rondo and Hart pretty goddamn hard to move away from in this game, and I think a lot of FanDuel roster constructions give you like Rondo, Hart, LeBron, and then you're like, okay, I got to play someone else. So like the first thing I wanted to do every day was play Rondo, Hart, LeBron, Ennis, and either Harden or Paul. Like that's where I started with a whole butt ton of lineups. PJ Tucker, I was all over last game. That turned out extremely well. He was significantly cheaper for $600 depending on the two sites and was like 8% owned. That percentage is probably going to come up and the price is higher. So I'm still certainly interested, but less so proportionately. So fine play. Wouldn't object to him in any format. You still have no Marquise Chris. You still have I think Nene is still sitting at questionable. Not terribly relevant. You're going to get 30 minutes and they're going to leave him open for 3 because guys just keep doubling Harden and Paul and shit. And he's just going to feast on that shit all year. Capella's fine to play in tournaments. Like the guy has an upside. We haven't seen it in a while, but it's in that same DeAndre Jordan category. Just nobody's going to play him because of all the more obvious plays. I don't care if you play Carmelo Anthony in a tournament. No one wants to, which is why at 5K, it's not like the guy can't put up 35. That can really happen in this game. I would rather play Eric Gordon. But yeah, there's nobody on the Rockets who I have an issue with in tournaments. And in cash, I wouldn't have a problem with Harden, Paul, Ennis on FanDuel, Tucker on DK. That's probably it for cash. And then, yeah, so I don't know. Give me some takes on this or handle questions for 3 minutes.
I do love your boy Rondo here. I never saw him getting the 32 minutes that he got.
Neither did I. We talked about that game, and I liked the spot. And I said, I think he gets 22 minutes, 25 fantasy points, but just was going to be incredibly low owned, and everybody was going to own campaign. And that worked out extremely well, but it was more minutes and less production in those minutes than I expected.
Yeah, same. But I'm going back to the well there. No reason not to in this spot. I share your love of Josh Hart. I love LeBron. I don't like much else in the power forward center range for the Lakers. No real interest in Ingram or Kuzma, or certainly not JaVale.
I have some interest in Ingram. You have no interest in JaVale. That's interesting. Like JaVale, if he gets his 22 minutes, he can score 30-something fantasy points, and there's not that many great cheap centers once you get under Valanciunas. I'm retracking the slate in my head.
Can JaVale play 20-plus minutes against the Rockets?
I think so.
I'm nervous about his ability to stay on the floor here for that long.
Yeah, well, that certainly would inform your plays for a couple other guys. You get much more of LeBron at the 4/5. Like they're gonna have to go really small after that because they don't have a lot of other centers they want to throw out there for significant time.
It's very true. Zubac, I don't think is the answer either, or whoever they decide to turn into a center.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. So let's do questions. Let's fire off some. Let's hit the premium chat. Answering 0 questions makes me feel bad.
Your favorite value plays was a question in our Slack chat. Apparently, people don't see a pinned. I
put a list with 88 in it. Counting ownership, Kyle O'Quinn now, Norman Powell, who not enough people will pivot onto, Anunoby. I'm trying to think of any of the other ones that I was a super fan of. But off the top of my head, O'Quinn, Powell, I find those two very interesting. Yeah, but I put a list of 30-something in chat and talked about them all for at least a second, so good luck.
Can we play Rondo and LeBron in the same GPP lineup on FanDuel? Absolutely.
Yeah, they do have a negative correlation. I mean, everything has a negative and a positive correlation. You have, overtime positive correlation, et cetera, et cetera. But, they are both largely distributors, so there's some sort of mathematical agreement to both of them hitting an upside is a bit unlikely. But yeah, that being said, when one of them costs $4,700, yes, if LeBron gets 80, you would reduce Rondo's expectation from 29 to 27, but 27 wouldn't kill you, and you'd have LeBron who got his 80. And if Rondo got 38, you would reduce LeBron's expectation from 59 to 57, but that'd be okay. So yes, you can.
Wendell Carter Jr. or Zach Collins? No site given.
Zach Collins in tournaments. Wendell Carter Jr. in cash.
Same for me. Scrolling back, thoughts on PJ Tucker? I know you're a fan, correct?
Yeah, I'm a fan. He's I don't have an issue with him in anything. I'm not over the moon on him because the price has come up a little bit and the ownership has also come up a little bit. But if you have PJ Tucker in the lineup, I wouldn't fret about it whatsoever. I mean, that game is really going to move. I'm not shocked to see, a double points rebounds with him making 3-pointers tonight. Wouldn't surprise me whatsoever.
Kyrie Drummond or Paul Jokic, FanDuel GPP?
Those are both really good. I'll take Paul Jokic in GPPs.
We are on the same page. My boy Jokic.
Yeah, I'd love Jokic tonight. It's just an ownership issue there. We were talking about cash before. But yeah, Paul Jokic, your ownership is better than the other two also. So, yep.
Batum on DK at 5,600.
Sure. Me. Sure. I mean, I'm not over the moon, but $5,600 Batum in a tournament lineup is fine. You shouldn't feel whatsoever bad about it. It's in that same. There's a lot of guys in those mid-5s who, Josh Jackson. Okay, you shouldn't be like, yeah, Josh Jackson, but he has a real chance in this spot, just like Batum does in almost every spot. There's some pace in there, and he can randomly pick up a triple-double. So, yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, I don't love him in the road back-to-back.
Yeah, no, he's not my first in, but he's going to be 2.1% owned. That's low enough for me where I'm like, okay, the upside, however unlikely, potential is justified.
5.3K forward DK cash. Kuzma, Josh Jackson, Jabari. I think
probably
it's Kuzma.
Jabari, and that's frightening to say, but it can't be Kuzma, and Josh Jackson ain't that cashy either. So I'll say Jabari and feel bad about it in cash. We're at lock.
We are at lock. Ooh, we got how many seconds left?
Oh, do we?
0.
0 seconds left. Yeah, I was like, I think we have 0 seconds. I think all the seconds have expired.
We are locked. Join me at the Luka Doncic fan club meeting, Wilmington, North Carolina chapter, when I put that together after he goes absolutely crazy tonight. I'll give everybody the details.
I'm a fan. I don't know about absolutely crazy, but I think if I was fairly, gun to my head, project how many fantasy points you get on FanDuel for Luka Doncic tonight, I would say 36.
35.3 is the number in my projections.
See, there was an extensive chat in the premium chat last night, contentiously based on my good or bad ability to project roughly as well as a computer, which on one hand is absolutely asinine to suggest. But on the other hand, there's a whole lot of times that happens where I'm like, this many, and they're like, yeah, my projections say 0.3 from that. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure it would have been the best use of my time to spend an hour working on my projections then, but
I just want them to make the Minnesota Timberwolves cry here. Let them know.
Bulls waving Omer Asik signing Shaq Harrison. Which, let me tell you, they could use Shaq Harrison tonight. Yeah. They could really use Shaq Harrison right about now. They signed him 4 minutes ago. Or they're like, so we've got some shorts over there. What number did you want? Because there's a game if you could go check in.
I assume they're stretching Ashik over 5 years.
Oh, I forget what his contract was.
I think
He's apparently had a stomach ache for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Like that was actually, he's had spondylitis. He's had a few really weird medical issues that have kept him out of play. Let's look at some ownership. We got 2 games at 7 o'clock. Am I getting that
right? That sounds right to me.
7-2 at 7:30 today.
Yeah. Pacers, Nets, Wizards, and Raptors.
Okay.
Wizards value is probably the only spots where there's going to be any sort of like weird ownership.
Yeah, so there's a $425,000 excellent eights with. Let me tell you, DK, your product is very good. You're making some upgrades. It's consistently well refined. I think you could make a very good argument you have the best product value in the industry. But for fuck's sake, can you name the tournament something less stupid? Excellent eights. Sorry. Your most owned player, Fred VanVleet. That was not what I would have guessed.
Really?
Badly at this ownership game. Yeah, go ahead. Think of guys from this. Like, I'm gonna give you the spot. It should not always be all about me. Josh Engelman, we're gonna play This Is Your Life. I'm gonna give you players on DraftKings. You're gonna give me their ownership.
I won't be anywhere near because I haven't paid any attention to DraftKings today.
Perfect. I will give you their prices as well, which will help a little bit. Okay. Fred VanVleet was number 1 at 16.3%. So this naturally portends a couple interesting questions. Kyle Lowry, who was 75, I believe.
Okay. Let me highlight just these games in my DK stuff so I could at least have an eyeball in front of me. Toronto, Washington.
You're just looking it up now.
I don't have any DK stuff in my sheet for ownership. I'm sharing my screen. People can see this stuff.
Integrity of the show for your own personal glorification. I'll allow it.
Lowry, 7,400. God, he's probably like what, 9%? 10%?
13.
Okay.
All right. He was the number 3 owned player. Guess any other player in the top 5.
John Wall.
Number 5, 11.38%. Give me the other 2.
Bradley Beal at 66 has to be, right?
Number 9 at 9.26%.
Oh my God.
Everyone in this game I want more of now. Like literally everyone I don't want more Fred VanVleet. Like Fred VanVleet, who was 4,500 or something. Like I like him, but as the most popular player on this slate, 16.3 for Fred VanVleet. Danny Green is number 2 at 15.77.
What?
I don't want any of that. Maybe did I download the wrong tournament? So let me go. I don't think I did. Is this a beginner only tournament for people with learning disabilities? Maybe this isn't the main event. And
Danny Green is the second most owned person out of the Pacers, Nets, Wizards, and Raptors.
Correct. We haven't even gotten to some of the other names I think you would have expected to hear. Remember Miles Turner?
Oh, he was going to be my guess.
Yeah. Number 7, 9%. Number 4 is Jared Allen at 13%. Which
so like more Jared Allen than Miles Turner. I'm not sure I can go there.
Talk didn't move a lot. Number 6 is Otto Porter at 11%.
It's not even a name we mentioned, I don't think.
Yeah, I for good reason. Okay. Number 8 is Karis LeVert. So just like, did people forget to do what they talked about all day? Like everyone talks about Karis LeVert 24. Like I turn on the radio and it's like Karis LeVert just bought a taco, news at 5. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Like I hear a lot about Karis LeVert. Somehow clocked in here at number 8 if I'm eyeballing this correctly. By the way, Kyle O'Quinn, number 10 at 8.7%. Number 11, Victor Oladipo at 7.5%. Number 12, OG Anunoby at 6%. Number 13, Jeff Green at 5%. Number 14, Serge Ibaka. And that should make you wonder about another person I haven't mentioned yet.
Jonas?
Guess Jonas' ownership. I would have missed this number by a fair amount.
I mean, it's got like low single digits.
1.8%.
I would have had a lot more than that, knowing 1.8%.
I would have had 100%. If you tell me Jonas will be 1.8%, I would be like, I will have 100%. I would just ride and die with it. We will see how it goes. He costs like $5,900, I think was the DK price.
55.
55 or 59 was FanDuel. Jiminy Christmas. Like, it's really not hard to see how this could go well for Jonas. So, I mean, he's going to get 3 fouls and he's going to suck. But given 1.8%, I'd be like, yep, I'm good for 100%. Just go ahead and chalk it up, fill in all the C's, and then go back and 1.8, brother.
I don't even know how to rationalize that in my head.
Well,
it's not like the news didn't come out that he wasn't starting, you know?
Right. A lot of it was somewhat late news. I want to say 35 minutes before lock on a massive slate with 9 other good centers. So, okay. Like, like that should limit it, but that should have limited it to 9%, which would have been my guess, I think, or 8 or 11. 1.8. Y'all got a lot of disrespect for the bearded one there.
That is really, really, really incorrect.
I really wonder what kind of all beard lineup we could have put together tonight. We can start with Valanciunas and Harden.
I was going to say I'll start with the beard.
Yeah, right. There's the beard, and then that beard. I don't know. Does Doncic currently have any chin whiskers? I recall him looking like a 7-year-old boy looking for candy.
I think it's wispy.
Kyrie's got a beard. Kyrie's in the pool tonight. We can do Kyrie. See, that works.
Yeah.
This is the kind of content people really pay for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Correlating lineups and ownership with facial hair.
Yeah, I mean, how else would you do it?
Roto grinders like Danny Green. That's why. Look, I like Danny Green. Danny Green is fine tonight, but so there's a real issue with ordination, and what I mean by that is, it's fine to like Danny Green. It's fine for Danny Green to be your favorite guy at his price. He wouldn't be mine, but he was 45 or whatever. So, okay, Danny Green makes a lot of sense, with Kawhi not there. But it's Danny fucking Green, first of all. Like, I don't know how quite that got slept on. But Danny Green is a woefully inconsistent fantasy producer. Now, getting the start, very nice to see. Kawhi not there, lots of extra stuff goes around. He's kind of safe, or as safe as you're ever going to get out of Danny Green, and there's an upside. So, okay, he's not a bad play. But, like, when I put out a list of 31 value plays at his price or less, for Danny Green to be 15% owned, he would need to be much better than the vast majority of them, and he just isn't. Like, if we go back and let me pull up that ridiculous list, I think I still have it here somewhere. Like, Danny Green, I would, with all that going on, project for like 28 minutes and 25 and a half fantasy points, which is pretty exciting for Danny Green at like a $4,500 ownership. That's a good number. Like, I feel good about that, but there's 23 other guys here I'd project for north of 20. So, I don't know.
I don't. That's just an outlandish number. Cue the Danny Green, 8 steal game or something insane.
Steals to blocks too, actually. Danny Green is an incredibly good shot blocker for I don't know the stats up in front of me, but I'll look at Danny Green lifetime stats for a 2 basically. He's a very, very good shot blocker and steals and sorts of other stuff, which are over to basketball-reference.com we go.
Congrats, Roto Grinders, for pushing up Danny Green, I guess.
It's nice to have that sort of sway, I suppose. And in Summer League, I got shit for that, and hopefully I got more right than wrong. But in his NBA career, in 25 minutes a game played, he averages a steal and almost a block. So in 36 minutes, he would be close to, he'd be like 1.3 blocks, which for a shooting guard is pretty great. He's in there with Josh Richardson, if you count him as a 2, or Dwayne Wade is a great shot blocker, a couple other guys. So, but yeah, steals and blocks. You can get 2 steals, 2 blocks, 4 3-pointers. Like, he could get there.
Yeah. But A value rating in Awesomo's rankings this week, or for today, rather.
I think I'm gonna pull up my Hoopadook and see what I got it sorted by team, so it shouldn't take that long. I had him at a B in tournaments, a C in cash. That was probably unreasonable. He should have been a BB, I think.
Crazy Danny Green.
It's now really Danny Green in cash. Being Danny Green in cash requires an extraordinary set of circumstances, and maybe this is it. But Danny Green in cash shouldn't. No. Like, if you've played DFS for a few years, you've seen a lot of Danny Green in 31 minutes, 7.1 fantasy points. Like, that happens.
Oh yeah, I think what you had down is very accurate.
C and B, I think is. I don't know. I could go B and B. Like, this is
not on this slate,
but. Yeah, exactly.
At 4,400, why play Danny Green in cash? I agree. He should be a C. I think is reasonable because of his minutes.
Yeah, for me, A is, I'm going to add an A+, which I'll rarely distribute, but that means I would start every lineup with him. And then A is absolutely no issue with him. Feel free to put him in a lot of lineups. B is, obviously a tier less than that. C is, okay, I don't think I'd put him in my first cash lineup ever, but somehow if he ends up in yours, you probably aren't screwed. It's basically what a C in cash means, and that's about how I feel.
Okay.
You know, I'd Beal at an AA, for example. Like, we can compare him to other value guys and stuff. Like, I had Levert at a BB, and he is well lower owned. For the games who started, I had Jared Allen as a B in cash. That's fine. He was 5,900. I mean, I had Levert as a B in cash. I had no one on the Nets as an A in cash. On Boston, I had no one as an A in cash, which I think is right. Kyrie as a B would have been the closest. Tatum as a B, again at a higher price. On FanDuel, I wouldn't have had a problem with Tatum as an A in cash. Horford as B, etc. If you guys would be there. And then the other two teams are whom? Washington,
Toronto, Indiana, Brooklyn.
Indiana, yeah. So Washington, I had Wall as an A in cash, Beal as an A in cash. These are, again, the DK prices. And Toronto, I had Lowry as an A in cash and a B in tournaments. I think that's right, too.
Yeah, I agree.
Indiana, I had Kyle O'Quinn, and I wrote this before we knew TJ Leaf was out as a C in cash and an A in tournaments. That's interesting. Thaddeus, I had as a B in cash. Miles Turner, I have as an AA here, buddy. How do you feel about that? Miles Turner, A ranking in cash. I'm a little nervous about it myself.
Go Kyle O'Quinn.
They can't handle the cock.
Somebody in the YouTube chat that's still on there said Powell already going off.
Sure. That's good. Not, necessarily predictable, but he's a perfectly equitable fantasy player when you give him 28 minutes at 3,500 or whatever and very low ownership.
For sure.
I was responding to a couple tweets. The few things I was typing was people were like, "What about this?" And I said swap Powell and at the end I said play Powell and O'Quinn in tournaments, and I feel that was the correct two guys around that price point. Again, I like them only incrementally slightly more than other guys, but it's just a upside in ownership and nothing everyone who's watching this show doesn't know. But, I would have liked those two guys the most. I would have had a lot of appeal for Evan Turner, who I didn't mention. They're playing McCollum and Lillard next to each other a lot more, and that just gives Turner looked really good last game, and he's basically playing point guard in the second unit, which is the way they're really trying to shoot more three-pointers this year. And Evan Turner can't. So their way to get around that is have him drive and set up other guys to shoot those three-pointers and not be out there with other point guards. So, he's running the second unit basically the entire game. So, but yeah, tournament plays, I would have said pretty happily. I wouldn't have minded Anunoby. I wouldn't have minded Pascal even off the bench. Wouldn't have minded Rose. Wouldn't have minded TJ Warren. But yeah, it ended with probably Powell and O'Quinn as my favorite too.
Go O'Quinn tonight. That's my final take. I'm going to go watch some basketball.
Yep, me too.
I'm going to go watch Norm Powell go nuts. And then watch the Doncic show at 8.
I don't know. Let me see if I can find some of the... he's got a basket and a rebound. Like,
going nuts.
I'm saying that's not good for the game is 2 minutes old, but...
There's already a foul on Danny Green as well.
Uh-oh. Yeah, that was the best. Oh, you know what I didn't do tonight? I didn't say this is the popular guy you should fade. It could have been Danny Green. But I didn't feel
I wouldn't have known he was popular.
But the last, he's the second most popular guy of the first 4 teams.
Right, but what I mean is, I don't think that we would have assumed that he was.
No, I didn't think he would. I thought he would be fairly high, but I thought he would be less than Lowry, for example. Anyhow, but the last 3 days in a row, I said, okay, here's a guy who's going to be 20% greater owned, don't play any, and was 3 for 3 on picking 3 guys who you wanted none of. Last night was Willie Cauley-Stein, who wasn't dreadful, but was high 20s, and you wanted none of that. And then Cameron Payne, first time, and Jeremy Lin. So I was on 3 days straight. And that was the thing people said, try to do that once a day. But I guess I shouldn't force it. But anyway, forgot to do that.
This was fun.
I was. I'm going to take a day off, too. I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
No.
Y'all going to be dealing with pigskin and stuff. There's only 4 games. We can go see the slates now and see if they've fuxered them, whether or not one has 4 games and one has 3, because it's 6, 7, 7, 8 or whatever my time.
I will cross that bridge tomorrow. Big time NFL day tomorrow. Laffy back from 11 to 12. Game plan show with Ben Raza and Laffy, and then myself and Chris Baggs taking it all the way up until lock. No NBA stuff tomorrow. I mean, I'll have projections out, but no NBA video for the night. It's an NFL day. Tournaments are small. We'll be back for Monday.
6 days a week. 5 or 6 days a week for me again.
Sure. Yeah, we'll be back on Monday.
All right, sounds great. Always a pleasure doing business with you, Josh. Good luck, everybody.
Absolutely. Good luck, everybody. Adios. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Nope, Monday. Bye.